1. I'm an avid reader, and I'm quite possessive of my books, to the point that I don't like to lend them at all. In my first few years of high school, I had a crush on a classmate, Eve. As it is common with these things when you're a teenager, the fancying was not mutual. She was into more attractive guys. As a teenager, I was shy, and my feelings for her were made obvious by my cheeks blushing a lot when I would talk to her. She loved to tease me about this, saying things like, "Maybe I'll kiss you later on today," in front of my classmates. She had also come up with a nickname for me, a nickname that stuck for my whole time in high school. The nickname was Brick, because I would turn red as a brick when I blushed. I did not enjoy this nickname at all. One day, during a lesson in literature, the subject of the famous Paulo Coelho's novel, The Alchemist, came up, and the professor asked if anybody had read it, to which I replied yes. Eve was intrigued by this novel, and after the lesson asked me if she could borrow my copy. As I mentioned, I'm possessive of my books, and my instinct was to tell her no. Plus, this copy of The Alchemist was a special edition that was given to me as a present by a family friend who had recently passed away. He was an important figure in my life and had taught me lots of things growing up, such as how to properly shake somebody's hand, how to play chess. He encouraged me to study English and more. Nevertheless, my teenage feelings towards her made me cave in, and the next day I lent her the book. From time to time, during the school year, I would ask her if she could return the book, but she would always say that she wasn't done with it yet. I didn't insist too much, fearing that I would sound annoying. The school year ended, the summer holiday passed, and we were back in school in September. I asked her again about The Alchemist, and she said she had lost it during a beach holiday with her parents. This saddened me greatly, but I hid my emotions because back then I thought that expressing them would make me look less manly and uncool. Fast forward the remaining high school years. I get over her and I date other girls. Getting to be with them helped me get rid of the filter I had in front of my eyes, and I started seeing Eve's flaws. She was selfish, childish, and liked to spread mean gossip about other girls for her own amusement. I lost interest completely. Fast forward again, we're in our early 20s, and we haven't seen each other since high school. We met at a party in the city, and we spent the night chit-chatting and drinking. She now seems interested in me, but I'm not in her. Don't get me wrong, I still found her attractive, but her personality was just not my cup of tea. The following day, she sends me a friend request on Facebook. She was one of those girls that posts lots of updates and selfies, so she would appear in my wall a lot. And it's in one of those selfies that I see it. It's right there on a huge bookshelf in the background of her bedroom, my copy of The Alchemist. I was too immature to simply confront her about it. I feared that if I did, she would just block me, and I wouldn't see my book again, so I decided to be sneaky and get my PettyRevenge. We exchanged messages on Facebook for a while, and we decided to meet for a date. On the first date, we went to a bar to have a few drinks. She told me that she was not looking for a relationship, she just wanted to have some fun. I told her that it was fine for me. I remember enjoying the night until she told me some mean gossip about former classmates. I really don't like this kind of stuff, but I took it. For our second date, she invited me to her place. We had dinner and we watched a movie in her bedroom where things got adventurous. After that, we continued watching the movie and she fell asleep. I got up quietly, grabbed my book, put it in my backpack, and replaced it with a red brick that I had brought with me. The next day, she texted me telling me that I was rude to leave without saying goodbye. I told her that I didn't want to wake her up. We texted for a few more days, but we both kind of lost interest and we didn't arrange another date. I don't remember exactly how long it took her to notice the brick. It was one of those thin types, maybe a little less than a month. She texted me asking if I did that. I replied with a tongue sticking out emoji, and she didn't reply back. I guess that she got mad and blocked me on WhatsApp. I haven't seen her or have spoken to her since, but I don't mind. What matters is that The Alchemist came home after all those years. 2. Background. My ex-boyfriend is very dedicated to public service and volunteering and a hard worker. On top of his crazy schedule, he also has a very built physique and is very dedicated to the gym. I found this ability to work hard, take care of his body, all while helping others admirable and physically attractive. A guy that does volunteering and aims to work in public service should be a good guy, right? I often find myself feeling like he never respected my time. He would ask me to come over on days when I had classes the next morning. He admitted into pressuring me into sexual activity. Every time I confronted him with my feelings, he would always say, "I'm sorry you feel that way." He said I was ignoring him if I didn't respond to his messages or calls quickly, even if my phone was away. In the past, I was too clingy because I would message him too much and was too demanding by expecting him to take 3 seconds out of his day to message me "good morning" back. He forgot to get me a Valentine's gift, and he had no time, so he gave me a cheap, expired chocolate bar from his car. Eventually, he apologized because he didn't know it meant that much to me, and bought me 2 Sour Patch candies and a protein drink. All I asked for was a handwritten note from him. Story. Yesterday I slept over at his place. We showered separately. I took 20 minutes, he took well over an hour. I had to keep knocking on his door to get him to hurry up as we had plans. He took his sweet time as showering was his alone time, and we missed our date plans as he had to go to the gym. Today I slept over again. I tried waking him up earlier so he wouldn't miss our rescheduled date. He took 2 hours in the shower, and I couldn't go upstairs to knock on the door as his parents were walking around. We haven't met. So I had to spend almost 2 hours confined in his room. 1 hour in, I texted him and called him, informing him of the time. He had his phone in the shower and said he would hurry up. Half an hour later, he was still in the shower. Another 30 minutes, and he was finally getting dressed. We no longer had time for our date again, so he was going to drop me back as he was getting late for the gym. He seemed surprised that I was angry at him. He said I was exaggerating 2 hours, but I remembered the time and I even sent him the reminders over text. I was fuming in the car and told him to skip the gym as wasting 2 hours of my time, the second day in a row, was unacceptable. He said that the shower was his me time and he really needed it. He also said he couldn't miss the gym as he had to get bigger. I asked him if the gym was more important than me, and he said we could simply reschedule our date for tomorrow. Eventually, we reached my apartment. He told me to go inside and he would call and talk about my angry feelings. I refused to leave. I told him that he wasted 2 hours of my day, so I would waste an hour of his, and he would have to skip the gym. So I stayed in his car for an hour. He tried to leave, but I raised my voice at him. I told him he was selfish and had no respect for others' time, and that it was unacceptable. I had never raised my voice at him before or done anything vengeful, so he was startled. He disagreed and repeated that he was a good person that respected others' time. He said he simply wasn't aware of the time, but I responded with the fact that he had his phone and you can check the time there. He said he lost track of time, but then I told him I even called and texted the time. He went quiet and started crying and pouting and stomping his legs. He kept repeating, "I've never felt this way. I feel so claustrophobic. I want to go to the gym. Please let me go." I refused. I said if he's feeling claustrophobic, then he can take a walk around the area, but I wouldn't leave the car for another hour. I also told him he wouldn't be late for work, so he wouldn't die skipping the gym for 1 day. He cried and said he already missed half of his gym time yesterday, and I told him it was his own fault due to his poor use of shower time. He continued sitting there, pouting and crossing his arms, sniffling and stomping his feet in the footwell. 40 minutes in, he said, "So do you really want to end it this way?" I said I was fed up with his behavior, so I was fine either way. He continued crossing his arms and pouting while refusing to apologize. Eventually, I got out of the car and went upstairs while he drove off. I haven't messaged him all day, and he hasn't messaged me either. This guy was my first real boyfriend, my first kiss, my first everything. We've been dating for over 4 months. I don't know if it's right to throw everything away like this, but I also don't really care. I feel so happy with my small victory. And FYI, he is not on steroids. Also here, the hot water doesn't run out. By the way, yes, I dumped him. Update. He saw the post, spammed me with calls, excuses, apologies for hours. Eventually I picked up. He said, "Well, you know, something about PettyRevenge is bound to attract a certain audience." I also did another PettyRevenge against him. I downloaded a dating app a few hours after we broke up to shove it in his face, swiped up as much as I could, and had 200 plus likes on my profile in 20 hours. Only matched with 2 guys though, so I did the most bare-bones icebreakers, nothing else. Obviously, I'm not going to hop into a new relationship anytime soon, don't worry. Don't even remember their names. But my ex is pissed and says I cheated on him. We were on a break. He says he felt sick and threw up. Now he is also trying to bribe me back into the relationship with a brand new Nintendo Switch OLED. Says he's a bad person, hurt me a lot, won't do it again, yada yada. Oh honey, they always do. He is also repeating the claim that I'm a cheater, even though we broke up yesterday. Also, he vehemently denies ever cheating on me. 3. Years ago, my partner and I rented an apartment from a very famous chef and TV personality. I'm being vague about our genders and the identity of the celebrity for privacy reasons. Anyway, we would occasionally have this chef over for a meal or a little visit now and then. I love to cook, and was never really intimidated by this star. I mean, they're not eating every meal at a 3-star Michelin restaurant every night, so as long as the food was made with care, what did it matter if I couldn't do exotic molecular gastronomy or something? My partner, on the other hand, was always looking to impress and was adamant that everything had to be perfect. So the first time we invited him over for a big dinner, my partner set the menu. It was a very involved and complicated main dish, with a very distinctive signature ingredient to be added towards the end of the process. So, I was instructed to take half a day off from work the day before the big dinner and cook a practice meal. I came home that afternoon and spent several hours making the dish. It was spectacular, and we had it for dinner. The next day was the big date, so I was instructed to take another half day off and come home early to make the same dish again. I spent another long afternoon cooking the meal almost to completion, with our guest due to arrive shortly before everything was to be finished. My co-host shooed me out of the kitchen, put on an apron, and told me that they were going to finish the dish, so it looked like they were the cook. With no time to argue, I greeted our guests, and we visited while my partner pretended to be hard at work, crafting a delicious entree. I checked in every now and then, but was told I wasn't needed. Dinner was served in our little eat-in kitchen, and everyone tucked in. It was immediately apparent to my partner and me that the delicious meal I prepared the night before was much better. I mean, dinner was good, everything was cooked properly. It was like a nice weeknight meal, but nothing special. I knew what was wrong, but my partner was flummoxed. Our guest was very kind and asked about the dish preparation. My partner rattled off the list of ingredients, and the chef seemed slightly perplexed by one of the missing flavors. I knew what was missing because, in one of my trips back to the kitchen to check in, I saw that they neglected to put the signature ingredient in for the final stage. But again, I was hastily run out of the kitchen lest the celebrity chef think I had anything to do with the prep. So I said nothing. I could tell from the other room as they finished the dish that the ingredient hadn't been added, but I kept my mouth shut. In fact, the missing ingredient sat on the counter in my field of view throughout the entire meal. It finally dawned on them that they forgot the most important part of the dish and had to admit the mistake. Again, our guest was complimentary and very appreciative, but my partner was mortified. Sometimes revenge isn't a dish that has to be served cold. The missing ingredient was a type of aged vinegar, very distinct flavor, and the bottle was on the counter the whole time. 4. I live in a four-seasons state and work in manufacturing. So this story begins when I got this job a couple of years ago. I felt bored at my old job as a machine operator and wanted a challenge, so I took a job as a programmer for industrial manufacturing machine at a prototype shop. I had a bit of experience doing fabrication and prototypes, but no experience programming. This company promised me training, self-management, and the ability to work remotely when needed. I've been trained and have some good experience under my belt, but still a lot to learn. No one else at the company does what I do, therefore no one knows the amount of computer work there is. From designing parts or fixtures, quoting, picking tools, designing the process, programming, research and development, etc. We wear a lot of hats, so my job is a little bit of everything. Technically, I work in the back warehouse under 2 supervisors, my direct supervisor and his supervisor co-CEO. Since I'm back there part-time and in my office on the computer part-time, I have 2 supervisors, I guess. It's kind of a weird dynamic and hard to explain, but just know it's poorly managed, micromanaged, and my supervisor and I hate it. Fast forward to a couple of weeks ago. There was a snowstorm and the office had a half day. I live about an hour north from the office and usually get more snow than they do, so I decided to work remotely for the rest of the day instead of going into the office. I got a lot of work done and was proud of my accomplishments for the day. I briefed my supervisor on what I did for the day and he said great work. The next few days my supervisor is trying to implement a progress tracker since we have no way of tracking projects other than me saying how far I got. Just a simple spreadsheet, no problem, I get it. We are a small company and the CEO is a busy guy. He doesn't always know the status. And since we all wear many hats, the rest of the team should know the status also. A few days ago, I had to rush home for an emergency. Something was going on at my house. Not that important to the story. I mentioned to my supervisor that I will be working remotely the rest of the day. He said something along the lines of, well, some people didn't like that you worked remote last time. Your job isn't really a remote job. I was a little taken aback, since it's probably 75% computer work, and I've been slow in the shop while waiting on tools to ship. I defended myself. It's not like I didn't do anything, there's still plenty to do. The office was closed and everyone else in the back got a snow day while I worked remotely, and someone got mad at that? He agreed with me. It's silly, and we both know. I ended up rushing home, getting there late because I was talking about what I should do the rest of the day and how to fill out the tracker spreadsheet so I can prove to the micromanaging CEO that I work. I told him I've never had to prove to anyone that I'm working before. I went home and ended up taking the rest of the day off anyway to deal with issues at home and not make anyone upset or question if I worked or not. So yesterday I got an email that we were closed tomorrow due to weather. Work remote if possible. I asked my supervisor what do I do. He said, well, do this or that, blah blah. I said, no, I mean, my job's not really remote. And everyone else that isn't capable of remote work gets the day off. You expect me to work tomorrow. He gave me a look as if to say, really? I spoke to some other co-workers and they aren't working. Why am I the only one working? Well, guess what? I turned my alarm off. I'm not logging onto my computer and I might monitor emails in case something important pops up. My supervisor jokingly said, take the machine home with you and work remote, implying I can't work remotely since I need to run machines. Ha, very funny. 5. When I started to my very first corporate job, there was a kitchen full of utensils and fridge and oven and stove and a dishwasher. A full-fledged kitchen for employees to make tea, coffee, eat their meals, even cook. They said I can bring my own glasses and put them there or use the company's. Also, there was a woman who was working in the kitchen. Let's call her Nilly since she puts rules willy-nilly like a bully. Second day of my job, dear Nilly told me, let me remind you that no one should leave their dirty dishes in the sink. I was surprised by the claim, Since I am new and don't know a single shit, I thought this might be her way of bullying me, or it might be actually true. So I smiled and asked if this means I have to wash my own glasses. She says, "Yes, don't make me repeat it twice, honey." Let me remind you, there's a dishwasher. If she isn't cleaning the dishes, her only remaining job is to vacuum the office once a week and bring tea and coffee to chiefs, to meetings, and to managers. So I decided to gather information and wait on it. Apparently Nilly has been working for the company for 20 years and knows the CEO. She knows how he drinks his tea, how he drinks his coffee, when he drinks them, what he eats with his coffee and tea. She knows all of them. If I know one thing, that is never fight a fight with the person who knows how your boss likes his coffee, especially if you're replaceable. So fight was not an option. Cool. I also learned that once a week, CEO brings a bag of fruits to the kitchen to share in the company. Apparently he has a fruit garden and goes there for weekends. And she would take fruits to her house at the end of the day. Old employees know that. They would take 1 or 2 in the day, that's how I learned this. She said to me I can get 1 from it, but it is hers. So I refused the first-time offer, thinking she bought it, then learned that it was brought by the CEO. I think she implied that the CEO brought it to her and she was generous enough to share it with us peasants. But this is my interpretation of her statement. One thing about me, I look young and naive, I look dumb, as if there is some missing component in my brain. Cue malicious compliance. From my desk, I could partially see the kitchen if I turned around. So on the day of fruit delivery, I was constantly checking the kitchen. When the CEO came in, I counted 30 and went in as well. To wash my glasses, of course. I went in and said hi to everyone. This was my first time seeing the CEO, so he said, "You must be new." Kindly and respectfully informed him who I am, and he told me who he was. I said, "Sir, I've checked the company before entering, and I knew him," which he liked. After I turned to wash my dishes, he asked me what I was doing, and I said, "Oh, I was informed that all the staff wash their own dishes." At the same time, our Nilly said I must have mistaken that, while laughing and taking the sponge and glasses out of my hand. I said, "But you," as if shocked, and then cut myself off as if realization hit me, then smiled like she is my best friend. Of course, I didn't stop there. I looked at the fruits. CEO told me to take some fruits, added that he brought them to the company so all staff could enjoy. I haven't said anything, but for my expression, the CEO asked what was wrong. I gave away nothing and told him I thought they were Nilly's since... Then I just smiled and asked if I can take a plate of them. With a huge plate of fruit, accompanied by a huge smile, I went to my desk and shared them with my team. I don't even like fruit. A couple of hours later, I went to the kitchen, and our dear Nilly told me I had misunderstood things, and washing dishes was her job, and I shouldn't mistake it again. And added fruits were there for everyone to share, and I should have taken more if I wanted. I stupidly said, "Oh, I didn't know, and how sorry I am to cause her any trouble," with a sorry smile. Guess who never had to wash dishes and had fruits to eat every day? If your answer is Cleopatra, probably yes, but also me. Nilly would also bring tea and coffee to me from time to time. If someone she served did not want to drink, I would thank her with a huge smile and take it. Apparently she does this to all the employees she likes. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, episode 340. Almost forgot which one I was doing there. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Before you go, please do hit the like button. And if you'd like to get early access to these videos, no problem, that's very easy to do. You can support me on my Patreon page, which is linked in the description. And there Monday, Tuesday at the very latest, usually Monday, you'll get the links at the start of the week. You'll also find a link to the Hellfreezer merchandise store on Teespring in the description there. And if you'd like to leave a tip, you can do so by clicking on the little heart with a $sign underneath the video. That is never required, not at all, but I do appreciate it, and thank you kindly. Okay, I don't think we have any other business today, so let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, what is the first thought that pops into your head when I say lemonade? Now, I suspect if you're British, you imagine a sparkling, cool beverage on a nice summer day. Maybe it's cloudy, maybe it's not. But that's what lemonade is to us. It's a fizzy drink. If you're from the US, maybe you're thinking of something a bit more classic, something like a still lemonade, which you can buy in the UK, it's just not quite as common. If you're from elsewhere in the world, perhaps you've got your own regional varieties. Why don't you let me know what you think in a comment below. And before we go, we'll have the answer of the day from a previous video. And today's answer comes from Revenge's Ice Cream 338. And this one comes thanks to Michelle Stewart. I enjoy reading the reviews. I go for the middle one first, then negative, then positive. I will read many product reviews before picking. Some negative ones are very much user error. You can say that again. Example, I hit it with a hammer and it broke. Like the last shelf I bought. Great shelf that didn't need a hammer. But my friends think me reading reviews is my hobby, as I will sit down and read more than most. Thank you very much for your answer, Michelle. And with that, I'm going to head off for now and make more videos. It's all I seem to do here lately. I've got a list of other projects I'm working on. I've got a script to finish. I've got the merch store to overhaul. No, I'm going to stop there because this is just going to turn into me belly aching about all the various tasks that I have given myself to do. So I've only got myself to blame. Okay, with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves. I'm warning you, take very good care of yourselves. I'm serious. Don't make me come down there.